Bid the Past Farewell, written by David Ahern, narrated by David Ahern. Prologue, County Tyrone, 1988. Dawn was breaking over the verdant, low-lying countryside as the Vauxhall Cavalier made its way slowly along the deserted road. A quiet Sunday morning, only one car had been passed in 10 minutes. The three men were unrecognisable in their military-style attire, and all but their eyes and mouths were concealed by dark balaclavas. The men had worked together several times before, and knew Northern Ireland like the back of their hands. All had a common wish, that in their lifetime Ireland would be united. With handguns tucked into their belts and AK-47 assault rifles resting on their laps, the plan was understood. They had rehearsed for this moment many times. There would be no room for mistakes. Farmers attired in plastic waterproof coats and mud-covered Wellington boots could be seen in nearby fields leading their cows to the milking sheds. They had one eye on the cows, the other on the weather. Black rain-bearing clouds were moving in swiftly across the pristine landscape that had been unchanged for a millennium. The vehicle that had been stolen an hour earlier increased speed a mile from the village, the men's adrenaline rising. Coag, County Tyrone, was but a few short bends of the road away. The two passengers held their rifles chest high, the barrels pointed menacingly towards the half-open windows. The targets would soon be in sight. The vehicle, its exhaust pipe emitting clouds of thick grey smoke, rounded the second-last bend as a loud clap of thunder resounded in the distant hills. Seamus observed John and Tony in the back seat. "The best of Irish luck, fellas." Grinning broadly, Seamus added, "To the Republic." "To the Republic," agreed Tony. "We'll blast these orange-loving shitheads to kingdom come." "And fucking back again," said John, mildly amused by Tony's witticism. Tony cackled some more. "To fucking kingdom come," he repeated, and all three laughed nervously. Excitedly, and in a victory salute, Tony thrust his long arms in the air, the barrel of the rifle slamming into the roof of the car. There was more laughter. Triumph was etched deep into Tony's face, and for some seconds the weapon was held aloft with narcissistic pride. It would be another stunning victory for the Provisional IRA. Only slowly did Tony lower the rifle, the butt soon resting lightly against his thigh. Aware of a slight body aroma, Tony reached for the handle and fully wound down his window to ease the wafting stench. Letting out a final chuckle, Seamus, with both hands on the steering wheel, guided the vehicle round the last bend. A few faint chortles could be heard in the back seat, but it was now down to business. Serious work lay ahead. Seamus saw the reflection, partly blanketed by the darkening clouds. The first rays of the early morning sun captured for an instant something glistening up ahead. With another bend in the road less than 50 feet away, and the speedometer registering 45 miles an hour, Seamus strained his eyes for a better look. From behind the thicket on the side of the road, Seamus could scarcely make out the outline of a man and what he was clutching, but it was a man, that he was sure. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. There was no time to warn the others or slam on the brakes, but in that split second Seamus knew the end was nigh. With almost impenetrable foliage acting as a buffer, 12 members of the Special Air Service blasted the fast-moving car with automatic gunfire. The noise was deafening and unrelenting. The bullet-riddled car swerved violently off the road, flicking up small stones before becoming wedged in a ditch, one of the front wheels ending up at right angles as choking dust swirled high in the air. The thunderous gunfire continued unabated for a minute or more, long after the car had ground to a stop, and long after the men inside had drawn their final breath. The young Catholic men were dead. Tony, Seamus and John were unrecognisable from the dozens of bullets that had peppered their bodies. Seeing the smoke and hearing the gunfire, the second vehicle, travelling some distance behind, hurriedly reversed and, unnoticed, headed off at speed in the other direction. The SAS was later congratulated by the British government. The ambush had been an overwhelming success. Outside 10 Downing Street, the British Prime Minister proudly announced to a large media pack that a terrorist attack had been averted. Chapter 1. London 2 years later. Waking with the start, Steve Kennedy took some seconds to regain his senses. The curtains hadn't been closed on his arrival in his hotel room, and it soon became apparent night had fallen. Sluggishly, he rose from the bed and went in search of the main light. As he couldn't recall the location of the switch, there was much fumbling and stumbling in the dark before his hand finally found the light near the entrance to his room. Kennedy let his eyes accustom to the brightness before checking his wristwatch. It was before 9 in the evening.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?